For our second code sample here, we have the idea of a redefined derived class function. So what we're saying is that even though in our base class, so more at the top of our hierarchy, that even though in our base class we have a function defined, so set user ID, print, for example, that's something that we would oftentimes choose to redefine, that even though we have it in our base class definition, that we may want to redefine it to be more specific later on with that in our derived classes, and that is perfectly okay, so long as we use the same name for our function. We are considering that as overriding. So redefined, overriding. I'm reading my note. Overriding, however, is different. Remember that when we override a function, that we have multiple functions with the same name, but they take different parameters. This is different. This is a function that exists in both a derived and a base class, but it has a completely different function. They may rather well, in fact, take the same number and the same type of arguments. It's just that we are looking for a more specific implementation of it in the derived, so lower in the hierarchy classes. So here we have the idea of a graded activity and a curved activity. This is something I know is near and dear to you as students because you have spent your academic career palpably mired in grades, everything is a grade. And now we have the idea of a curved. Shit, we're maybe not doing as well at something as the instructor had intended. And to make us feel better, we can say, hold, we're going to curve that activity and make up for my instructional shortcomings. So what we've got here is the idea of our base class. That would be graded activity. And here inside of graded activity, what you'll notice is we have the idea of a set score. This is lines 19 through 21. And that's fantastic. We want to set the score. We are passing at the time of instantiation here. Well, we could. We are passing a value. When we pass that value over, we're saying, look, this is what the score for this activity is, and away we go. Now, that's fine, but what happens in the case that we have a graded activity? Remember, or a curved rather, activity. Remember that here in curved activity, what we want to do is account for the fact that whatever your score is really your score and a certain percent. Again, to make up for some instructional shortcoming, because I couldn't possibly make a mistake. It's you that made the mistake, and this is me with my infinite mercy giving you more points to make up for the fact that I did a garbage job of teaching you something. That's why I never curve activities, because we don't need to do that. So here in our, it's okay, Eric, nobody's going to see this. It's okay. And here in our curved activity header, you can see we have a redefined function for set score. This time around, what we need to do is account for whatever the percentage increase is going to be. So here we have a raw score, and here we can pass to our base class set score a different definition here for the set score function. So what ends up happening is, we'll just come through here and run this. Now, I didn't go crazy and work with the math. I just did it by simple percent. So if you pass 10 as a value to the new set score, it's actually just going to take your score and multiply it by 10. That is not what we want. So we have to do it with decimal notation. So let's say, for example, my student's raw score is in 80. And the curve on this is going to be 10%. It's 1.1 to account for I didn't want to code this forever. So it says, here's my raw score that comes from my curved activity. My curved score is 88, and we get that by set score, which is redefined in our curved activity.h. So just because we have a function defined in our base class up here in the hierarchy doesn't mean that as we grow more specific with our derived classes that we cannot simply redefine it. We can. And just remember again that redefining and overriding are different. It's not based on the type or number of arguments we're passing. It's simply based on the kind of object it is that we are referring to.